The Arminian versus Calvinism thing, the whole thing's completely absurd. It's ridiculous. I don't know if either side has noticed at all, but because they seem to be so into their side that they don't want to notice that that both sides give very good Bible verses to support their view. So it's rather obvious, at least to me, that something else is going on here. Calvinists give verses, and so do Arminians. And what's really odd to me, and really surprises me, is that they do actually have a common ground. And that common ground is that your only two options, if you're a Christian, is Arminianism or Calvinism. And that's the only two options, and that's completely false. That's absurd. And how both of them agree on this, I don't know. It's just weird. And but yeah, so I reject Calvinism and I reject Arminianism. They're both to a degree right, but they also both fall short. When it comes to Arminianism, I think the Calvinist is right when they say that it diminishes God's sovereignty. I think that's correct. I think that Arminians are correct when they say that the election is a corporate thing. However, it's not just corporate. There seems to be individual election in the Bible as well. By corporate, by the way, if I understand it correctly, what they mean is that basically the church is the election, and you, by your free will, can decide whether or not you want to be part of that group or not. And based on you being part of that group or not is whether or not you're saved. However, I think that Calvinism, actually Calvinism, to be honest with you, makes me angry. It pisses me off because Calvinism severely limits God's love for humanity, and it severely limits man's free will, which is both very unscriptural concepts, and to limit God's love for humanity makes God not perfect. It makes God's morality arbitrary, and in fact, it kind of makes me wonder how the Calvinists would defend against the Euthyphro argument. I don't know what the Calvinist answer is to the Euthyphro argument. I don't think that they can give an answer, to be quite honest. So I'd be interested if anybody out there is a Calvinist, if you can explain or give an answer to the Euthyphro argument while being a Calvinist. Please do explain to me. Yeah, it just, in fact, you know, that's pretty close to the Muslim God there. If you want to limit God's love, Allah, throughout all of the Quran, says, I do not love, I do not love, I do not love, I do not love. There's a lot of people that Allah does not love, and He's quite honest about it. God, however, is quite honest about loving everybody. And before you start this whole, well, it says, Jacob I love, Esau I hated garbage that I've already went through in some of my previous videos. The concept of hate and Semitic language, the concept of I love this, I hate that, is I prefer this over that. God rejected Esau. God preferred Jacob. And yeah, you can watch my previous videos on that crap if you want to. So anyway, yeah, so I think the reason why actually I got the responses that I got was because those people are probably Calvinists, and for some reason they want to limit God's love. Also, it seems to me that Calvinism, and correct me if I'm wrong, seems to think that just about everything is predestined, and if that's true, then that means Adam and Eve, their fall is predestined, which means that they are not responsible for it. God is. God predestined them to fall. He's responsible for sin in the world, not Adam and Eve, and therefore I am not responsible for my sin. That would mean that Peter was predestined and set up to reject Jesus 3 times, to lose faith and fall in the water. It means that Israel, every time Israel went against God, God predestined them to do that. So basically sin is God's fault. It is not man's fault. And that's extremely unscriptural. I want to say, don't get me wrong here, none of us, absolutely none of us, deserve heaven. We all deserve hell. And I'm not going against that. So therefore God could do whatever he wants. However, Calvinism diminishes God's love so much that God is morally inadequate to be perfect. So I completely reject that. There is a third option. I don't have a whole lot of time here. I think I'm running out of time, so I'm going to try to quickly go through this. So I won't give the full spiel on it. But yeah, the third option is called Molinism, and it's basically the view that God has mental knowledge. And basically, in a nutshell, what that means is that God knew that based on such and such conditions in your life, that you would freely, through your free will, that which he gave you, would respond to him, that you would freely respond to him. And so he predestined you based on knowing that you would respond based on certain conditions in your life, and that had you not had those conditions, you would not respond. So he put those conditions before you so that you would respond. So he predestined you using your free will as basically, say, a tool. And I'm going to give you a bunch of Bible verses to support that God does in fact have mental knowledge. That would be Matthew 11:23, 1 Samuel 23:6 through 10, Matthew 17:27, John 21:6, John 15:22 through 24, John 18:36, Luke 4:24 through 46, and Matthew 26:24. I think Matthew 17:27 is a really, really good one. You should at least check that one out. But anyway, if you want to know more about mental knowledge, I'll post a link to a really good article on it, written by William Lane Craig, who is one of the biggest supporters of mental knowledge, as well as Alvin Plantinga and a couple other really good Christian philosophers and scholars. But I think both Calvinists and Arminianists should take a look at mental knowledge and Molinism, and see if they can't reconcile both sides together. I'm going to end on this note. I'm going to show Molinism actually at work in the Bible. If you go to Acts 9:15, you'll see there in Acts 9:15 that Paul is individually predestined, pre-elected by God. I believe the King James says that he is God's chosen vessel for his purposes. Then you go to Acts 26:19, and Paul is explaining this. Acts 26:19, Paul is explaining all this to Agrippa, and he says that he did not respond disobediently, which means that he seems to think that he had a choice. He had a choice to either respond disobediently or obediently. So therefore, through his free will, he responded to God's choosing him. So mental knowledge, Molinism, is displayed here. Molinism leaves God with his glory, all the glory, and leaves him with his sovereignty, and it leaves man with his free will, and it leaves God with loving his creation. So it doesn't diminish any of these things. So I advise Arminians and Calvinists to take a look at all this. And that'd be the end of this video, and thank you very much, and God bless you.